often hear, I feel guilty for not knowing what I didn't know. I feel guilty that it took the murder of George Floyd, or it took, us discovering 215, remains of Indigenous children. Like it took that for me to realize the severity of racism. I've even heard, I feel guilty for being white. And I just want to address it because it constantly comes up, just this feeling guilty. And again, I'll throw it to you, but based off of my experience, what I do know is that we are not at fault. We are not to be blamed for our history. We have inherited the system that unfortunately, we're all here in this moment in time. And I think guilt is an emotion that really doesn't serve anyone. What we are responsible for is this moment in time and what we're going to do now to make our future better, and to make a brighter and better future again for the children. Because for me, it always comes down to the children. I also think we have to remember how unconscious bias works, how our blind spots work. We're unaware of it, right? It's something that we don't know. And I think oftentimes we think we're thinking our own thoughts, but really we're just absorbing and projecting what the culture and what society has told us. This idea of them versus me and us versus them and categorization. And so I think, again, a more empowering place to be is not the guilt, but now that I know what I know, what now? What can I do now? How can I, do better and be better? So those are my thoughts. But Kerri, what do you think about that? Just that guilt.
Yeah, it doesn't serve. It doesn't really serve anyone because it's not something you can act. You can't. I mean, if it's a power that sort of drives you to do action, in terms of just having simple conversations with your children, and celebrating diversity, but also looking around in their communities. So let's, for example, their classroom is a really, really big part of children's lives. So looking at their teachers, looking at the climate that's within their schools. And, we had talked about this before about, what has recently happened with the Muslim family tragedy. And there was a tweet that I shared with you about, it was a principal that had said, the man who killed 4 innocent Muslims and orphaned one was a grade 8 student just 6 to 7 years ago. And this is why we do the work we do in schools. This is why conversations about race and oppression are needed, embedded into the curriculum, into instruction. So, that's an important part to think about, what's happening in the classroom. So really kind of showing up and speaking to the teachers and really advocating for your children in that way as well. Because, an anecdote that went along with that was that someone overheard, some teachers in the staff room were heard saying, why do we talk about this when we don't have people from that group in our class or community? Well, those people might not just be visible. They might still be in your class, but that it goes even further than that, the children that are in your class will be in those classrooms one day or in those community situations. And you want them to have that empathy for all different groups.